What a run! That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen.
Receivers, and this time he lost one and it's picked off.
And Brady and Moss hook up great football players, showing why they're great.
He's got it. 20, 10. He's got it.
End zone. Touchdown Titans.
Well, good evening, guys. This is the Saturday night edition of DFS Advisor, brought to you by Premier Properties. As we've started the show, we've run into a lot of different scheduling conflicts, a lot of different stuff that we've been doing. So we decided, through people asking for Jay's presence, to try to figure out a day to where Jay may be more available. Saturdays he thought would be good, so we're going to go ahead and start doing a Saturday night show at 7 p.m. Eastern weekly. Jay is going to be the host going forward, and then you can catch me on the Wednesday night show on YouTube. You can catch me on the Friday night show on iHeartRadio. And so anyways, we're expanding, we're growing, we're having fun, and we're trying to figure out a way to serve everybody. But definitely wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors. We mentioned Premier Properties. Steve and Nikki, always want to thank you guys. You are our backbone financially and legally, and we love you guys. Thank you so much for being with us. Selected Truck Brokers out of Grand Rapids, Michigan recently came on and asked us to start putting together a sports show to take fantasy sports and DFS to the truck driving world, which is a little bit of grassroots for me. So we're going to be fitting that in. That's another growth thing that we're putting together. And then we got our parody stuff that we're doing. And that's going to be really fun. Going to piss some people off. Going to do some Saturday Night Live, smokable type stuff, and have a good time. Want to send a thing out to the parents to let you guys know that this is an adult show. Every now and then we slip up and we cuss every now and then. So if you have any young kids listening, we want to let you guys know that we are adults here, and we try not to cuss too much, but every now and then we do. So that is in our content, and we like to let you guys know that. So going forward, how you doing, Jay? Glad to have you back, bro.
Yeah, good to be back. How you doing, Jimbo? It's been a while. Apologies for the missed time, but, duty called. But, we're back in the saddle right when it matters most. Championships, playoffs happening. So it's good to be back.
All right, man. I love you, bro. Glad to have you back. I know we've had a lot of our leagues asking for you, a lot of sponsors asking for you, a lot of friends asking about you. So you are a hot topic, and we are proud here at Inner Circle Fantasy Sports to have you on board. We are excited about your future and how we can help you have fun and grow your talents in what you want to do. A couple more things we want to shout out about before we get started tonight, guys. We got the Fantasy Football Expo coming up in Canton, Ohio this year in July. Guys, make some time for this. Schedule your vacations. Guys, this is fun stuff. And if you're a diehard D-Gen fantasy player, you need to find time to make your way to this expo in July. DFS Advisor, Inner Circle Sports is going to have a booth there, along with some other friends we have. They're planning to go, and this is a great thing. They do have a Discord. If you guys are interested in following them, find out their Discord online and give them a shout out, start getting involved. And it's some fun stuff to pay attention to. A couple other little things that I want to hit on before we get going in fantasy football is, guys, this NASCAR thing kind of is a big deal to me. I owned a race team, ASA team, a local short track team. Had a chance to have Adam Petty drive for me back in the early 90s, mid 90s. And so this hits home with me. I know a lot of these guys personally. Jimmy Johnson is a good friend of mine. Kenny Schrader, Kenny Wallace. A lot of these guys are good friends of mine. that I spent time with in the early 90s racing. This deal that's going on, guys, it's a big deal. This is going to change the NASCAR landscape, this lawsuit. Just like some lawsuits come up in fantasy sports that are coming big in California, coming big in Florida. There's some lawsuits that are going to change the fantasy DFS world. There's some people doing some things from a dictatorship standpoint, some antitrust things, not only in NASCAR but in fantasy football. So this kind of hits home to me, and the reason is this week Joe Gibbs really Joe Gibbs is a good guy. He's a football guy. He's a NASCAR guy. And guys, he had some folks on the stand that represent him. His grandson is racing. Ty Gibbs is an up-and-coming race car driver and is going to do some big things. And his daddy died last year, and his mom did some testifying in this case that, a lot of the people that are in this antitrust case were not so much high-level NASCAR guys. They weren't your Joe Gibbs. They weren't your Childers. They weren't your Hendrick. But now there's some things coming out with some of these higher-tier teams, and I'm telling you, this judge and this jury is really looking at some things that I believe is going to slap NASCAR down to earth and put them in line. So if you're a NASCAR fan, pay attention to this. It is going to change the landscape. Mark Martin spoke out last week. Kenny Wallace has been speaking out all along. Junior Earnhardt Jr. has been speaking out all along, but this week also Kenny Schrader spoke up. And guys, Kenny Schrader's my age. He's up in his upper 50s, early 60s. He's an old school NASCAR guy, dirt track guy, and this guy's respected. And the thing is, some of these guys that are speaking out, your Mark Martins, your Juniors, your Wallaces, and now Kenny Schrader, I don't look for it long. Jeremy Mayfield spoke out. Now, Jeremy Mayfield's stuff was a little more controversial with the drug, the drug issues, but still in all, some of these things that are coming out in NASCAR that happened 10, 15 years ago that were solidified in the fabric of NASCAR are now also surfacing again. And some of these old school big names are coming out and speaking the truth and exposing some people that it's going to get looked at. And when you see these type of figures making claims to some of the things NASCAR is doing, it's going to get people's attention. So if you're a NASCAR fan going into 2026, Daytona 500 is right around the corner in February, guys. It's not that far away. I look forward to change some things. So we'll see how it all goes. I'm definitely erring on the side of the teams in this. To me, Mike Helton's gone. A lot of the old school France guys are gone, but some of the old boy network is embedded in NASCAR, and it needs to get cleaned out, rooted out, in my opinion. So enough said on NASCAR. I'm going to turn this over to Jay. Jay, we are going to primarily do a Saturday night show. You are going to be the host going forward. I'll be in the background, and we're going to highlight college football. It's a great day to do that. Saturday is college football all day long, every day. Saturday night kind of gives us a chance to reflect on what happened early in the day, get ready for the night games, and bring you guys some updated information, especially this time of year with drafts right around the corner. Devy leagues are ticking off to where people are thinking about what they're going to do. So this is Jay's show. DFS Advisor, Inner Circle Sports. Jay, take it away.
Yeah, really excited to get you guys ready because, as we close out the NCAA season, what's going to also help you guys with your drafts, redrafts, whatever, just to know what rookies are coming up. And also as we get to the Devy draft season, kind of what freshmen are going to be good to pick up as well. So, the goal here is just to make you guys as aware as possible, educated as possible, I'm a sicko, so we'll be talking about high school players, college players, and just making sure that we have all the best information to get that edge that we need in order to win our leagues.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Speaking of some new guys, man, this kid right here, I was looking at, where'd he go? Here he is right here. Check this out. This dude, Fayetteville, North Carolina, this running back course, I'm a big USF fan down here in Southern Florida. This kid coming out of Fayetteville, North Carolina is a hard-nosed running back. This kid can run the football. Over 4,000 yards, 4,400 yards rushing his 4 years in high school, 49 touchdowns. Not all that great as a pass back, but this kid is running the football strong. And with Hartline coming down here, a little bit more offensive mind, Hartline I can trust is going to bring the wide receivers. So I'm glad to see they're picking up a running back, and I'm excited. What do you think about the Hartline Golish thing happening this week, Jay?
I'm not familiar. You got to educate me a little bit, Jimbo.
All right. Well, Golish, the coach from USF, he left and took the Auburn job. Now Golish come down here and turned UCF around, man. I mean, he was winning, kicking everybody's ass. They were doing really, really good this year, and then got offered this job at Auburn. And then all of a sudden we pick up the offensive coordinator out of Ohio State, who is, ex-NFL wide receivers coach at Ohio State. And if you look out what this guy has pumped out with your Mbukas, with, your Smiths, with all these guys that Ohio State has put out as wide receivers, and we get this guy as a head coach, I'm excited for USF football on the offensive side.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Because, he's shown an ability to develop talent. And, even, like I said, Mbuka wasn't the top receiver, but he's been, a very, very consistent player. And I think Carnell Tate, you're going to probably see the same thing when he gets drafted in the league, too. So they have a history of kind of being like wide receiver U right now, since LSU's kind of fallen off a little bit.
I think Tate,
he's draft eligible. Yeah,
he's coming out next year, right? 2026.
Yep.
Yeah. So Tate's right there. So I don't know how many of you guys got him in your Devies, but I'm excited about some of the Devy stuff I got coming up. How are your leagues looking?
We're hoping. We're hopeful. This is gonna be a big weekend for me, man. So I got like one league. I won a championship last year, but for whatever reason, like every single year, I lose a quarterback. And so I'm playing with Lamar, which is a shell of himself right now, and then Jacoby Brissett. So, and then I lost my league neighbor. So, but we're still, this week is gonna be like, if I can get in there, the team is good enough to make a run. But we'll see.
Who you got for risers and fallers?
Risers and fallers. So let me pull up my phone here, and because I got a list that I've put together that I wanted to share with everybody. So we can start with the Devy risers, right? So what's really excited me, and I talked about him a little bit before, but Malachi Tony, I think he's because you got to think he reclassified. He's supposed to be a senior in high school. And he's been making plays all year. And he was somebody who wasn't on a lot of people's radars. I've been touting him since the beginning of the season. But because I did, your Ryan Williams, so like when those, for whatever reason recently, these reclassified freshmen have been hidden. And so I was like, okay, let me get a couple of shares of him. I'm glad I did. I haven't got any. I have more of him in C2C because I found out about him. He didn't reclassify until after our Devy college drafts. But, he's going to be somebody that I'm going to definitely be targeting.
This is your guy from Miami, right?
Yes, he's from Miami University.
How do you compare him to Lemon out of USC?
Very, very similar. I think he's a smaller build, but like his route running is exceptional, and I think kind of similar to what Mekhi Lemon is doing. And so I think the route running is very good. He operates out of the slot, which is a very prized position in that Miami offense. And so I think he's going to continue to make a lot of noise as we get through the year. Because, as a freshman, I think he's at 84 receptions and 970 yards, Wow. So and that's as a freshman. And how many tutties does he have? He's got 7 touchdowns this year as a freshman. So,
and all this coming from Beck behind
coming from Beck. Yeah, exactly. And he wasn't even my most touted one that I had that I was targeting all offseason. But he's definitely made a name for himself this year for sure. But
so how are you feeling? How are you feeling about Miami borderline? Probably not going to get in to to the playoffs?
Oh, I mean, that's on them. I care about the players. So like, you know what I mean? Like, so yeah, if they make it, they make it. They don't, they don't. I mean, I think like from what I've seen from them this season, they've just been very, very inconsistent. So I mean, even if they got in, I don't necessarily think they're one of the best teams in the country. So, um, I think it's going to pretty much be up to the committee to see if they decide it, but I think it's going to be pretty tight. But I think their lack of consistency, like they've lost some winnable games, like the ones that they were like penned to win, they lost, and so they just could put them in a bad position later on in the season.
Now I hear in the background the wife's out here in the living room. I hear the Alabama Georgia game going on. You got any stake in that game?
Yeah, I mean, I was rooting for Bama because my brother-in-law loves Georgia, but they're getting like smashed right now, 28-7. So
so Georgia's still walking away with it.
Yeah. So I think that game's pretty much dunesies. And like to your point, with Miami not even being in the ACC championship, it's just going to be really tough for them. So
right. As far as formats for Devy in for fantasy players to get involved in, how do you feel about fan tracks? How do you feel about sleeper? How do you feel about the commissioners having to take on an extra role of putting these spreadsheets together? Where do you kind of stand from a Devy standpoint on what you would like to see some of these larger platforms? Now, Inner Circle has created an app, and we're working at it. Where do you see things going, and where would you point Devy players to play Devy leagues?
Yeah, Devy leagues for sure would definitely should be in sleeper. I mean, I think it would be great if sleeper eventually was able to get college players, but we're not there yet. Because I think currently what I've been doing, and it's kind of mirroring the first Devy league that I started, was operating off a Google Sheet, and like so we draft up players, keep it there, but it's very manual intensive. It's difficult to manage as a commissioner, I'm sure, for a lot of people, especially myself. So like if we could streamline that where the players like and the college players, and even if they're just placeholders, and the actual NFL players could just be on one platform, I just think it'd be more user friendly, a better user experience, as opposed to like, because right now it's like, you may have to hop to a spreadsheet. So if you're doing C2C, which is like college fantasy football, you're having to do fan tracks and then also manage your sleeper. And it's just a lot. So like, think if we could streamline and automate those processes, I just think it allow more people to want to join as opposed to having to manage so many different things.
As far as trading goes this time of year, Jay, where do you stand with okay, let's talk about tanking for just a second, okay? Because I've had some experiences in some leagues in the last 2 weeks. Of course, we know it's getting close to playoff time. Trading deadlines are right on us. This is it. How do you feel when a dynasty team owner decides he wants to go ahead and just rip it up, throw it up, and tank? Do you think tanking is a strategy, or do you think tanking is a bad deal?
Oh, I think it's definitely a strategy. I think, I think if you're in any league that has a trade deadline, you should probably get out that league. And then secondly, because we're grown-ups, and I think, it's up to the player's decision. That's their $50. So if they want to decide, hey, I want to be strategic, I want to give away all my old assets to these win now players in order to get, their like 2027 first, so hopefully they have a bad year next year, then it kind of flips into a high pick. Completely up to the owners. I think that kind of is the fun thing about it, is because it allows you to have an opportunity to reset your team. Because I mean, if you're trying to win, you're hurting yourself. So the best thing to try to do, and it's still a dice roll. You know what I mean? Like, I was one of those people who drafted Anthony Richardson #1, which was a very, very bad decision in hindsight. But so those picks may not hit, but so but I still think it puts you in the best position to gain a lot of assets in order to take a lot of shots.
So I guess my point is in this, Jay, do you think your advice to fantasy players would be slow your roll when you're trying to bang on these guys that are tanking and giving up people and making lopsided trades? Because a lot of them are more lopsided when a guy starts tanking. Okay, we all get that. But I think there has to be a give and take within leagues amongst the players to allow it, before they all jump. Everybody seems to jump to collusion. Everybody seems to jump and say, oh, that's a lopsided trade. We're not going to allow that. I think we need to start giving these players some liberties to go ahead and say, I want to shake it up for me. I don't care. You know, it's just like this year. There's some players on my list that I'm tired of carrying. I'm tired of hoping. I'm tired of praying that some goddamn day they're going to make it. Some goddamn day they're going to be good. And so what I'm seeing is a lot of guys get their feathers all ruffled up when they see some of these trades go on and they say, why are you doing that? That's collusion. Why are you doing that? That's tanking. I think in a dynasty, we got to start opening up a little bit. And I think we need to have a little bit more open mind when it comes to trades this time of year. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, I do. I think, I mean, I'm still going to talk trash as a bad trade because I think, some people are just idiots. But I think, if the only thing that you have to be careful of, because this has happened to me in leagues before, is where, they do make a bad trade and then they end up dropping out of the league. You know what I mean? And they may have paid for a year, maybe. I normally get a year up front. If you're in my leagues, you have to pay. You're covered for 25 and 26. But people still, I've seen people even in those scenarios still drop out of the league. And then sometimes, depending on how bad the roster is, or if you can't find the right person who has I can turn this orphan around mindset, it could completely blow up your league. So it's a balance. I think if you see 2-2 of a lopsided trade, I'm anti vetoing, but I have regretted that I didn't veto in the past with some, because some were so lopsided. It completely, I had to completely nuke a league. So I just think it's going to be, as a commissioner, your responsibility to kind of take it on a case by case basis. Not to say that people are, like I said, there are grown-ups, but if it's very, very lopsided, where, it's completely not fair, then that could actually end up destroying your league. So I still think there's some accountability from a commissioner perspective, where you have to ensure the success, the viability, and the long-term health of that league. So, again, it's a very, very delicate balance, though.
Well, I'll tell you what we decided to do at Inner Circle Entertainment going forward with our leagues in 2026. What I decided to do is we are not going to allow the commissioner to have the final word. We are not going to allow a league vote for trades. What I did going forward is I chose a panel to represent our leagues, and none of them are in our leagues. They are all guys that I trust. They're all guys that are seasoned fantasy sports players. And what I did is I put together a 3-guy panel, which are made up of 3 guys that are not going to participate in any of our leagues. And they are going to decide whether leagues trades are good trades, bad trades, reversible trades. So anytime there's a discrepancy going forward in 2026, that's how Inner Circle sports leagues are going to be decided. What do you think about that move?
So Supreme Court almost of trades.
Yeah,
I mean, it's gonna. I'd be interested to see how it plays out, because I mean, if I've some trades again may look terrible today. I traded who did I trade? Marvin Harrison and Anthony Richardson, and I traded for Joe Barrow and Puka Nacua. And and I was on the Puka side. And again, at that time, it was because there was a lot of hype around Anthony Richardson. He was just starting, but again, both those players were very, very unproven, and I wanted to get a little bit more security within my team. And this team is number 2 in the league right now, so it worked out for me. You know what I mean? But somebody could have said, that may be too heavy. I could have stole that. They could have reversed it, and you know what I mean. So I wouldn't want anybody doing that, because that was a good trade for me. You know what I mean? So I'd be interested to see kind of what their decisions are as the seasons go along, and then ultimately what the league says.
I was actually involved in a trade this week that a guy was really going to tank, but he went a little overboard. And he tried to give me, and I accepted the trade, but it created all kinds of shit. He traded me Baker Mayfield, Matthew Stafford, Rashad Rice from Kansas City. I gave him Moore from the Bears. I gave him Pollard, and I gave him a second and a third round 26, and everybody fucking went nuts.
Wait, what did you get? Wasn't that bad?
I gained Matthew
Rice.
Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Rashad Rice, and he got Pollard, DJ Moore, a second and a third round 26 in that because he was blowing up his team and he wanted to tank.
And he got Pollard. That's so weird.
So
that was
everybody went nuts. I mean, they went nuts.
Too.
So what I did to give peace, I said, okay, giving back Baker Mayfield and giving back Stafford so that at least he's got quarterbacks on his team if he decides to walk. I'm going to go ahead and keep Rice. He can have Moore and Pollard in the second round pick and the third round pick, which I'm winning that league. So they're late round picks, but so I got Rice out of the deal, which that's all I really wanted anyways, because I sent him a trade trying to get Rice because all I had left was a second and a third. So I sent him Pollard and DJ Moore, and he took it. But he sent me back a counter to take Stafford and Mayfield along with it. So I'm not going to say no.
Yeah, no, you're better than me. I would have kept all my players.
Yeah, so I gave it back to keep peace in the league because everybody went nuts. But those are the types of trades that you see in these final weeks with all the. That's what I'm saying. It gets a little dicey in trying to keep peace in these leagues. Now, thankfully, in your leagues that I'm in, they've all been pretty steady. And as long as we're talking about trades in your leagues, let's talk about this trade. Now, a lot of guys, back where I used to come from, we used to do this weekly. And this is something everybody's been asking about. So we're going to go ahead and dissect a couple trades tonight that we got. This one happens to be in Scott Fish Rejects, which is one of your leagues. With a guy that is in the playoffs and a guy that is not in the playoffs. Now, Splash of Coke is in the playoffs and Steinberg is not. Now, this trade, when you look at it on the surface, I pulled up the lineups in this, and with Rodriguez kind of taking the place of Bill, it's kind of a running back one. If you look at the projections on a weekly basis, Rodriguez is the running back one. And Dyke has put up some big numbers for Tennessee. He's kind of been the standout, even when the number one has been hurt lately. In this 2026 first becomes a depleted pick in a Devy league, which this is a Devy league. So this is if you look at it, I'm going to say Pism 88. He's like this pick becomes like a 110, a 19, a 111. I'm not quite right sure where he's at. And then he's given up in Buka. Now, if you look at Splash of Coke's lineup, to me, it's not a bad trade for Splash of Coke, who is running for a championship. He's in the playoffs. And to give this up, I don't know why he's, in Devy. Now, there was some Devy picks, which I'm not privy to that you know of, Jay. What were the picks in Devy that went with this trade?
Keelan Russell, who is a freshman quarterback at Alabama. So he may be starting next year because if Ty Simpson gets drafted. And then Carson Beck, who is at Miami, he also may be coming back. So he didn't get any immediate assets for this. And I also did want to mention, because most of the best players are already rostered as far as college players, because it's a Devy league. You got to think about this as kind of like a late third. That first is more like in a regular like dynasty league, more like a late third, maybe like late second, early third. But like it's not like and to give up Ibuka, which I still don't personally. I mean, I get his roster, but like I don't understand the move because Emeka Ibuka is a really good player.
And if you
And
look at his
he's
running
6 and
backs, if you
7.
look at Splash of Coke's running backs in what he's got, he really wasn't hurting for running backs. So I can see where it's kind of a weird trade, but yet to me, it's not that far off base. I play in a lot of leagues with Splash of Coke, so he doesn't do a lot of unorthodox shit, but he's a degen. He's a player. Now Steinberg, I haven't played a whole lot with some. So I look at this and Steinberg is dead last in the league. So if anybody really, really gained something out of this, I honestly think Steinberg gained more getting in Buka for a future and a rebuild. And if I was Steinberg in this situation, I'd start unloading everything I got. But Splash of Coke, I think he's really hoping for Dyke and Rodriguez to go off in the 26th first. Deplete is just a maybe dart throw for fun when it comes to trade time or draft time.
Yeah, I think sometimes people forget that this is a heavy league. I think it's a terrible. I mean, I think it's a great trade for Steinberg as a rebuilding team. Great, but you also got to be mindful of the fact that like this league is like really really close, and I mean he's like in 5th place, and he's not even at 500. So like it's not like he has a good team. You know what I mean? That so like this may bite him next year, depending on what he has coming in to his roster in 2026. Like this may actually end up hurting him because, like I said, it's not like he has like even though he's in the playoffs.
You think it's going to hurt Splash of Coke?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I wouldn't be. I mean, I wouldn't be shocked if it's going to hurt because it's not like because he's giving up a really really good player and he doesn't have like a really really good team. You know what I mean? And he's like and he really like Chris Rodriguez. Okay, I don't really. They're going to be a terrible team down the stretch. DK Dyke, I don't. He's running sprints out there, so he's not really going to impact your roster either. Like,
all right, so we both agree that Steinberg wins this trade
by a landslide. It's not even close. Not even close.
All right, so we both agree on that. Now I got one other trade that's in a league that I'm in. Now, if you look at this trade on the surface, Nico Collins for McCaffrey. All right, both of these guys are in the playoffs. I don't want to call it even because it's not. The guy that took Collins doesn't really have any wide receivers to speak of, so I get it. He was so on his running back core. McCaffrey's on a bye this week. I get it. He's right on the edge of the playoffs. So I think that's really, really why he made the decision to give up McCaffrey. Does McCaffrey play another couple of years? I believe so. If you look at this on the face of the trade, I think the McCaffrey side wins because Nico Collins hasn't done shit this year. He just started coming on. And I just don't think you can give up the week-to-week points with McCaffrey. So I think the McCaffrey side of this trade wins.
And this is a dynasty league?
Yeah.
And are both of them in the playoffs or like?
Yeah, they're both in the playoffs. That's why I say it's, if you look at the one guy that gave up McCaffrey, I get why he gave him up because McCaffrey's on the bye this week. He's light on his wide receiver core. He's pretty good on his running back core. So I think he basically played this to assure he doesn't drop out of the playoffs by McCaffrey being on a bye.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, if he's solid at running back, I mean, like, and especially that because a dynasty league changes it. Like, I think that the McCaffrey side wins the trade right now, but I think long term, I would be on the Nico side, just for the fact that
Age-wise.
it's
Age-wise
age-wise,
and
wide
shelf life.
receiver,
Yeah.
exactly. Like, so like Nico probably has more in the
So
tank.
this is one of those tricky ones where you look at it and you say, well, man, you're giving up McCaffrey, but yet why? And all of this. And
Yeah.
you look at it on the surface. And when it's a 1-to-1, it's almost even harder because there's no picks, there's no extras, there's no nothing. There's nobody to say, oh, he's the best player in the trade, where it's 2 or 3 guys in a trade. When you go 1-for-1, it's like you really got to kind of just stack it up and look at where they're at with their team. And without seeing their team, it would be tough to make a decision. But I did see the team, and I kind of see why. And I think it is. I really think this was all based on McCaffrey being on a bye, and kind of sucks. But anyways, that's where that trade's at. Those are the only trades we got for you guys this week. If you guys like the trades, put that in chat. We can do more of those. Jay, I'll let you get back to what you were talking about. You want to talk about some of your fallers?
Yeah, the biggest faller I got going on this year is going to be Garrett Nussmeier. He was taken pretty high in a lot of Debbie drafts this year. I know I took him in the first round in some spots, and I'm kind of kicking myself right now because it's definitely not panning out for the kid, But I think he's just had a really tough year. I think with the head coach change, now he's got Lane Kiffin coming, so that's kind of the only kind of light at the end of the tunnel that I'm seeing right now with him. But he's just had a really bad year. When he was getting Heisman hype, he was getting first round of Todd McShay was mocking him as the first quarterback off the board. And he's kind of took a huge fall from grace this year. And, they've lost a lot of big games. He hasn't played well in big games. So it's just been really tough, if you have him on your team and to see kind of what has transpired over the course of the year. But again, trying to be optimistic, you're hoping that Lane can come in, because you saw what he did with Jackson Dart. Not to say he's Jackson Dart by any stretch of the imagination, but he's had the ability to, get a quarterback to play well, get him to be drafted high. So, the hope is that we can see him kind of turn it around, because right now, he's got 12 passing touchdowns for the whole year. You know what I mean? So he's been really struggling, and they've been struggling as a team. So he's been one that I'm kicking myself because I'm just thinking about all the people that I passed up, and you can't trade him right now. So you just he's a hold for sure. And in hopes that, because you wouldn't want to sell low, you just kind of rather just eat it, and then hopefully as we get into the season, he shows some promise, and then you kind of maybe flip him. And I also want to give this tip too for Debbie players. Don't hold on to your picks. I mean, to your players, right? They're unproven. So if you can flip the best thing for Debbie players to always do is to try to see if they can flip their Debbie players for actual proven talent once they're showing out in the leagues, and then try to get, people who are on your team that can give you into a championship run. Because, we talked about Anthony Richardson, we talked about Garrett Nussmeier, there's an endless amount of names that, we thought that the hype was real, and then they get into the league and things can kind of go left. So if you can trade those for proven players that can impact your roster right now, as opposed to somebody who's just sitting on a spreadsheet, if you're doing it that way, or sitting on your taxi or your bench, if you're doing it that way as well, it's the more you can transfer those players into production. Nick Singleton is another one who's a big faller, right? He was somebody who was going first round, high expectations. Again, coaching issues, aside, quarterback injuries aside, but he's had a terrible year and his value completely plummeted. Luckily for me, I was able to flip him and win a championship last year because I did so. So it's just you gotta, although we're invested in these players, we are following these players. The goal is to try to flip them as quickly as you can to get some now talent that can impact your rosters. So just always be mindful of that when we're talking about Debbie, because the players are great, but they're assets. They're not like your children. You don't have to have them forever.
Hey, Jay, what do you want to talk about next? You want to talk about Heisman, or you want to talk about AP 25?
Let's talk about Heisman, because I think what Julian's saying, that's kind of my guy right now for the Heisman. Again, he's been really, really, really good this year, and I've been pleasantly surprised because there was a lot of concerns with him um, initially before he won the job, just because spring games ball was kind of looking kind of crazy. It's kind of wobbly. He wasn't really throwing the most tightest spiral that you've ever seen. But what I always loved about him is that he won these tournaments in high school, and he won against like big name players and like like the Dylan Rayolas, and so to me he always was. And then he was recruited by Nick Saban. Like Nick Saban's a really, really smart guy, so if Nick Saban likes a guy, I'm paying attention. But then when Nick Saban left, he ended up going to Ohio State, and he's had a killer year. They're about to play soon, which is why we're here at 7 o'clock so we can watch that game. But he's had a really, really good year, and he's definitely for me a front runner for the Heisman. He's got 30 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards. So like he's just as a sophomore, and he's a true sophomore. And so like if he can keep this up, I could see him potentially because they're going to be a good team. And if you're throwing the ball to Jeremiah Smith, you're going to look good. And he's just been super, super efficient. Like I said, even when I saw him for his first game in that Texas game, I saw a lot of potential there because that was a big, big game for him. Arch Manning was the person that everybody was talking about. But in my mind, I was watching him to see because I'm not the biggest Arch fan. But like, I was watching Julian to kind of see how he played under pressure as well. It was a home game, but still, like nevertheless, it was like he really, really didn't lose them the game, and he made enough plays to win it. So for me, I'm going with Julian saying I know there's a lot of other people who are in contention, but he's the one that I'm kind of planting my flag on, hoping that he takes it home. And it's excited and interested to see his college career progress.
And he plays a little later on tonight, so
yeah.
And that's going to be a good game. This guy here is who he's going up against tonight. This guy's also in the talk from a quarterback. My pick is not a quarterback in the Heisman. I'll talk a little bit more about my pick for the Heisman here in just a little bit. But what do you think about this kid at Indiana and his chances for the Heisman?
He's legit too, man. Like, and he's been surprisingly legit. I wasn't a believer going into the season with him, but they made because they were good last year, but I don't think they had his level of talent at the quarterback position. But he's done a great job. It's 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, over 2,700 yards, and they're in the championship game, and he's made some big throws, made some big plays. So excited to see what he could do against that Ohio State defense tonight.
Does this kid have a chance for the Heisman?
No, I mean, I love Dante Moore, but I don't think he was earlier in the year. He's kind of fell off a little bit. I think he should go back to school, in my opinion. I'm hoping that he does to get another year, but I guess it's going to really depend on what the draft noise is. I love Dante Moore though. Like, don't get me wrong, but I just think that the other two have done more and have in this tougher competition and as opposed to Dante right now. But I think, like I said, he's got a puncher's chance, but he wouldn't be my like number one.
No. Okay. Well, that's understandable. What do you think the outcome of this Indiana Ohio State game is tonight?
I don't bet against Ohio State. So
you don't bet against Ohio State?
I don't bet against Ohio State. No, not at all. Not in these type of games. Indiana has to prove it to me. It's one of those where I'm gonna believe it when I see it type of thing. So like I can't. I'm gonna go for Ohio State. They just got so much talent, and like I said, not to say Indiana doesn't have talent beyond the ball, but like Bo Jackson, Jeremiah Smith, Julian Sand, we mentioned Carnell Tate earlier. Like they are just so talented, and not even talking about what they got going on the defensive side of the ball. But it's gonna be if it's gonna be up to Indiana to see if they could make plays, keep the down and distance short to get first downs and just try to really keep the ball out of their hands. But I just don't know if they could do that against this Ohio State defense because they've just been so sturdy, all year. So it's going to be a tough game, but it'll be a good game. So I'm looking forward to it at 8:00.
Yeah, that's at 8:00 right after we get off air. And, to me, I always hate that a lot of our awards always seem to go to a quarterback. And I tend to like to see defensive players rise up and get awards. And in this right here is my pick for the Heisman. I honestly think it's going to be an upset. I think a lot of these quarterbacks are going to have to sit back down on Heisman night, and I'm looking at Jeremiah Love to walk away with a Heisman this year. What do you think about that?
Oh, I can't knock that pick anyway. Like 18 rushing yards, over 1,300 yards. He did it last year. He's done it this year again. He's going to be the number 1 running back going into the 2026 draft class. So, yeah,
look at that picture, bro. Look at that picture.
I wouldn't want to be
picture is Heisman worthy, bitch.
Yeah, I'm not trying to tackle him for sure.
I love it. I hope Jeremiah Love takes it down. All right, now let's talk about this AP 25, top 25. Tell me, all right, where you stand. We all understand where we're at with the top 5. I got my give and take on the top 5. I'd like to see my boys from the Sooners be a little higher than they are. And then I got my Cinderella team, Vandy. So where are you standing in this top 25?
I think Ole Miss should be higher. I think personally.
You putting them above Oregon or below?
No, I'm putting them above Texas Tech.
Okay, so you're just moving them up 1.
Yeah, just moving them up 1. Yeah, I think Oregon's pretty solid where they're at, but I would put Ole Miss up there. But the rest of the 5, I think it's going to change tonight depending on how this Ohio State, because if it depends on if Indiana gets blown out, I'm going to move them completely out of my top 5.
I think some of the most controversial talk in all of this top 25 is Notre Dame. Notre Dame seems to be getting a lot of bad press that they're not worthy to be in. Where do you stand on teams below Notre Dame that you think should be higher than Notre Dame?
Definitely Miami. Texas had a big win against Texas A&M, so definitely I think I have them higher. And I would say Vandy too. Like I think they just play a tougher schedule than Notre Dame. They have a couple of big games throughout the year, but they don't really play in like the toughest conference per se. So yeah, I don't even know if they would barely be my top 15.
I think Miami and Vandy both deserve to be where Notre Dame is, and Notre Dame needs to be in the 12 or 13 spot.
Yeah, see, and I'm like I don't even know about the 15, but like I said, we'll see what the committee decides, man. Like, it's gonna be interesting after the dust settles today. We'll kind of see how these spots, because at the end of the day, this is great and all, but we want to see who is in the playoffs, and so it'll be interesting to see kind of how the committee looks at the strength, the schedules, the players, the situations, like I said, with Ole Miss, and kind of how everybody's placed within this bracket.
Let me ask you this. Out of all the coaching changes in college football that took place in the last couple of weeks, what do you honestly think, not talking mainstream media, not talking hype, what do you think was the best coaching move in college football?
Oh, to me, is Lane. I mean, I'm a Lane fan. I think, he's a vagabond. He kind of wanders from team to team, but he always does well, man. Like, and what he was able to do with that Ole Miss team, I think, it's been remarkable. And so, like, they had a really, really good year and even the loss that they had was a great game, man. That was they lost to Georgia, I believe. Was it Alabama? I can't recall, but it was a great game. Like, it was just really, really, really good game. And so
I'd have been right there with you. But one thing really, really pissed me off with that whole situation. So I'm going to go with the goalish to Auburn, and then I'm going to go with the Heartline to USF is better than Kiffin for one reason. And that reason is I don't know how, as a head coach of any football team, I don't care if it's high school, I don't care if it's college, I don't care if it's pro, how do you walk away from your players that are going to play for a championship to go coach another football team? That, to me, pissed me off.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's just it goes
against everything football's about, Jay.
Yeah, true. But I mean, I think at the end of the day, he's got to recruit right now. You know what I mean? So like, you
I don't
gotta
give a
like,
shit. You got a championship football team. You got a
recruit.
championship football team, possible championship football team that is making it to a championship. All these guys that you sold your soul to recruit and bring to your team to play for you, and you walk away from that, to me, that defies everything about football. And I'm sorry, but that's a position I'm taking on Lane Kiffin. I love Lane Kiffin as a coach, but when this all happened and he did this, it just goes right back to the same goddamn thing that 99% of the world is about money and self. And to me, it just let me down. I wish he would have just said, you know what? I'll come to LSU, but I'm going to play the shit out. I don't give a shit about your NIL. I'll recruit later. I don't give a shit about your timelines. I got a championship football team that I'm committed to. I'm going to play the season out. Where I end up. When I'm done, I'll come play for LSU. That's how I see it.
So what happened? Let me ask you this though: like, if the AD, because the AD may have not allowed, because that was some of the whispers that were going on before. It was the AD was like, no, we got to get you out here just the same, so that we can show the people that we're recruiting what the structure is going to be moving forward. So like I said, it's tough. I think I do wish, to your point, that he was able to stay, kind of finish out a season, especially if you're on a championship run. I just think, like I said, that's the weirdness of college football, like where there's these timelines where like forces your hand. Yeah, and it is a bad situation for the players for sure.
Yeah, it just sucks to me, and so I got a bad taste in my mouth with Lane Kiffin's decision, and I'm going to stand by that because of how I am. I'm a true believer in my feelings, and I wear them on my sleeve with everything I do. So, any last words going out of this that you want to talk about tonight?
No, just excited. Like I said, we're going to be rocking and rolling. We're going to be more times than not going to be trying to rock this out on Saturdays. If there is any other, like if we're going to do any other day, maybe a Friday or a Sunday morning or something like that, we'll let you all know. But really excited to grow this Debbie brand, continue to talk about college football. There's going to be a lot to talk about next week following these games. We're talking about kind of like what the brackets are looking like. We're going to also start talking about maybe some potential freshmen that are going, like, you be coming into college that maybe starting to enroll as well soon. So just be on the lookout for what we got going on, and just really excited to continue to grow this brand and continue to work with you, Jimbo.
All right, man. I appreciate you being back on the show, Jay. I'm excited for you taking your show on Saturdays and doing your own thing with it. I'm going to get real busy doing some other things. I'm blessed to have you on board. I appreciate you. Our sponsors love you. Our fans love you. And guys, thanks for tuning in. And like always, guys, I just want you to know that 2025 was a big learning experience for Jimbo's. I had a lot of great fun where I came from, but I learned a lot. As fantasy players, I urge you to vet your leagues before you join them. Know what leagues you're getting involved in. Know who your commissioners are and vet your commissioners. Make sure they're reputable people and not going to steal from you and not try to screw you. Get involved with some people that play fantasy football year in, year out. Those are the leagues, guys. Those leagues are going to be the people that you want to be around, okay? So if you're into fantasy for the long run, for doing devies, for doing dynasties, and you're looking for longevity and integrity, talk to Jay, talk to me. I can tune you into some guys that have been doing this shit for 20 years, okay? If you're into those type of leagues and you want to have a nice, calm, reputable league to join, it might not be our leagues. I can point you in a direction to play in some other leagues, and I can also tell you about some other leagues that you don't want no part of. So, guys, going forward, enjoy your DFS, gamble, and have a lot of fun. We have a lot going on at Inner Circle Fantasy Sports with our app, with our iHeartRadio, with our YouTube. And we're growing in leaps and bounds. So enjoy your playoff week. I hope you guys make your playoffs. If you don't, start planning for the future. Start planning for the off season. Make sure you hit us up. Our leagues on Inner Circle are going to start dropping after Christmas. Between Christmas and New Year's, look for Inner Circle. We've got 16 different types of leagues. They're going to be dropping. I'm not looking at big numbers. I could care less if I have 100 leagues. What I want is 10 great leagues that are made up of good people and they last. And Jay, that's one thing I can say about your leagues that I've been involved in with, the Fishbowl reject leagues have been fabulous. And I love them. I love being with you. And I'm all done talking. Anything last words? It's on you. Close it out.
No, not at all. I mean, appreciate it as always. Like I said, Scott Fishbowl rejects. Scott Fish, I would love to not be a reject. So if you ever see this, hook me up. But no, appreciate you, Jimbo. Glad to be back and looking forward to what we're building over here.
All right, guys. Y'all have a good night. We love you. We'll see you on Wednesday night at 8 p.m. And then Jay will be back on Saturday night at 7. Y'all have a good weekend.